Does anyone not know who Raghwa is? Put up your hand. You brought all your friends. Everybody knows who you are.
I bought all the tickets.
So for those of you who don't know, Raghwa's got a pretty amazing story. Growing up in Fiji, going to school in Fiji, moving to the Okanagan as a teenager, getting involved in a startup technology company back then, and lots of successes since that time. So we're going to go back a little bit, Raghwa, and start back growing up in Fiji, and maybe just share a little bit about family life in Fiji as a child and what your experiences were there.
Perfect. Well, I'm so lucky to have been born in this beautiful island country of Fiji. It was a paradise and is still a paradise. So I was born in a very small village of about 60 people. The closest town was about 5 miles away, about 5,000 population. That was considered a pretty large town. So I see Maisel over there. He might associate with some of the things that I'm saying. Anyway, I grew up, born in a family of I've got 8 siblings, 5 boys and 3 girls, and I'm number 6 in that line.
Yeah. And in terms of financial situation as a kid growing up in Fiji, what was there to do really for you as a young child? Was there a way for you to make money, or was there a way? What did you see the future of yourself in Fiji at that time?
Yeah, about 55 years ago or so, close. There was no concept of kids or students working or earning for themselves. And still, actually, in Fiji today, there's really no facilities. There's no companies like McDonald's or Starbucks where you as a kid could go out and work. So I was born and raised in a farm, and basically anybody that knows anything about a farm, it's a 24-hour job. You're working in the farm, helping your parents raise animals, grow vegetables, and so on and so forth. And there's always more than enough to do. So there was really no opportunity for me to go out and actually the thought wouldn't even occur to go out and look for a job.
Mm-hmm. And you came from a family of very modest means. And school was expensive at that time in terms of books and uniforms and things like that. You shared a story with me once about your experience as a young boy at school and the challenges that you faced, and maybe you could share that with the group.
Yeah, very very modest upbringing. Like I say, eight kids and couple and parents, so 10 people in a house that's about 400 square feet. That's your home, that's your kitchen, that's your living room, that's your bedroom, and everything included. So with no beds, basically your bed is the floor. Being very modest and having so many siblings all going to school. The public school system over there basically still required you to pay some sort of fees to get to school. And I think very close friends of mine actually knows the story. So if you don't mind, I'll take a couple of minutes to actually tell a little bit of that, so everybody I can share it with everybody. The school was about 4.5 miles from home, and we used to walk. It would be about a 50-minute walk every morning from home to school. So we get up, do 2 hours of farm chores, milking cows or doing something, then get ready, walk to school for 45 minutes. And in those days, when you get to school, this is sort of a British system. Every student lines up in an assembly outside the school, and the principal will make some announcements or whatever the day's business is. And then everybody goes into their class, and you start studying. And then end of the day, about 3 o'clock, you basically another 45-minute walk back to the farm, as soon as you get home, you're busy. Like you're busy till about 9 or 10 p.m. until it's basically dark. You can't see, and then you do whatever you need to do. We have some dinner and then some homework. Very little homework because by that time you're totally zonked. You're tired. You can't do anything. So that was the sort of the lifestyle. But I guess the story that you're probably referring to is one thing that kind of made me what I am. Probably goes back to when I was in grade 5 and walking to school every day, and I did, my parents didn't have the school fees to pay to the school, so. At the beginning of the year, the principal would call out all the names of students that didn't pay the school fees, and I'd be there, no doubt. And he would actually, just tell us, you guys make sure, tomorrow bring your fees, otherwise, I'm going to send you back home. And this would happen for a week, and nobody would care. I'd go out every day, in front, and he'd give me the same message. I'd go back into my class and go home. After a week, he would get tired. He basically say, well, you know what? If you don't, the second week he'll say, if you don't get your fees, if it's not paid up, I'm going to actually send you home. So I go back home and I tell my mom the message, and she said, no problem, just go to school. So next week, I come out, and basically we'll start with about 30 or 40 kids that haven't paid, and by Friday it would be down to 3, and I'd still be there. I'd be one of the 3. Following week, it'd be just me. So he calls the names and it'd just be my name, and I'd come out, and then he basically say, okay, just start walking home. So I would actually come to school with a lot of kids, because a lot of them, and then at 8:30 I'd walk home by myself and go home. And I said, Mom said, what happened? And I said, well, the principal sent me home because you didn't give me the fees. And she said, oh, no problem. So she'd be very happy. I'd help you all day. And I'm thinking, I'm done. This is good. No more school. This is fantastic. And then in the morning, she'd wake me up and she said, you got to do this, and you have to go to school. And I said, oh, right, okay. So I'm thinking she's got the fees. And when I'm ready to go to school, and I said, so what's the fees? And she said, no, just go. So I walk to school again, and the same thing happens. The principal brings me out. It's the only one student. That's me. And I walk back home. So this would happen for about a week, and he would get tired. Third week, he wouldn't even bring my name up. I haven't paid the fees yet, but he would just let me in. But what it showed me is, the persistence of my mom at that time allowed me to continue schooling. So that's the big lesson that I learned. And if she hadn't done that, I'd actually be working in a farm somewhere. Would have no education after grade 5. So that gave me a lot of incentive to start thinking myself, if I don't want to go through the same exercise, the second term and third term and the following years. So I was in grade 5, about 11 years old at that time, and happened to go to town with my dad for some shopping, and we enter into this little grocery store. And I look at this old man. At that time, he was probably 35, 40 years old, but he looked pretty old to me. So he was kind of helping my dad out with the groceries. And at that point, I thought, oh, this is a great opportunity. So I said to him, let me do this. And the guy kind of looked at me like, what? I said, let me do all of these things. And he said, no, that's all right. And I said, no, I want to work here. He kind of looked at me like, are you sure? I said, yeah, I want to work here. And he said, what are you going to do? I said, anything. And he kind of looked at me for a while and he said, okay, no problem. Why don't you come here next Saturday morning? Come in early, 6 o'clock, and I'll find something for you. So that was my first entry into working, which became sort of, he was a great mentor for me. He supported me for the next 10 years through my schooling days, paid all my expenses, bought my uniform, paid for my books, and got me to school. But the big thing there was, he became my mentor and somebody that I looked up to. And everything was great. But my job was basically, when I arrived, that particular Saturday, the next Saturday morning was In those days, we didn't have those plastic bottles where everything was filled. It was, the grocers would buy, cans and containers of things like kerosene. We used to use a lot of kerosene for lighting lamps in the homes. And my job that he gave me was the worst job a person could ever have in the world, which was basically washing the bottles and filling kerosene for the customers. That's what I did for 3 weeks. And then I started to get smart, and I started helping him in growing his business, so I became the boss after 6 months.
And that got you through university time. Were you working there at university, or was that just elementary school?
No, I worked all the way through university. So,
So that job paid for your university?
Job paid for all of my schooling up to university and through university. And then I, luckily, thank God, when I was in university, I got recruited by one of the government agencies. It's called the National Provident Fund, which is like a CPP plan. So they recruited me for some. I was actually in the school for science, but my strong subjects were math and physics. I was actually doing linear algebra and stuff like that, and computer science came a little later. So they recruited me to look. They had just bought a computer system, and they wanted to write some applications for memberships, renewals, and stuff like that. So started working with them, doing a little bit part-time studying, but it was a very good job. That job was Monday to Friday, 9 to 5, paying me probably 5 times the average wage that most of people would have died for. So as an example, in those days, $10 a week was a very decent wage to work for, and I started at 100. So I was the king of the hill at that time. But every Friday afternoon after work, I would go to that same store where I started washing bottles and filling kerosene, and I was helping him. At that time, I didn't want him to pay me, but I was there helping him. And every Saturday, even though I could have gone and done anything else, until I moved to Canada, I did that. Every Friday and Saturday, I went and helped him out.
Awesome. So your choice to move to the Okanagan, this would have been in the early 70s, I guess?
Late 70s, 78.
Yeah. So what prompted you to pick up roots from Fiji, and how old were you at the time, and what was the big impetus for you to move here?
A couple of things. First of all, through having a government job, there's a lot of perks, especially in the old British system. If you work for the government for 1 year, you're entitled to one trip around the world to go and tour wherever you want, which was a great perk to have. So I had put in about 2.5 years with the government. Again, being a workaholic. And trying to make some money and save some money. I was at 16 years old. I had bought my first car, which was worth about $25,000 at that time. It was unheard of a kid at that age to even go out and get a loan. But since I was working for the Provident Fund, there was a little bit of a leverage over there. So I decided to always take cash instead of any of the perks or benefits to help pay for my new toy. But after the 3rd year, they were sending me to Australia to do some more studies, and since the trip was all paid for, I decided to come to Canada because my elder brother had moved here a few years back. He came to Vancouver, then his job got moved to Winfield or Lake Country. So I thought this is a great opportunity to come here, visit him on my way to getting some more education. And I arrived here in this beautiful part of the world. It was early March. And my brother used to tell me how they have this much snow and all of the cold and stuff. When I arrived, it was the best year weather-wise that we've had here. So I thought, wow, this doesn't sound right. I mean,
had you ever seen snow before you moved to the Okanagan?
I'd never seen snow. Actually, no. I sort of knew what snow maybe looked like, but no, I'd never seen it. As a matter of fact, let alone snow, I hadn't even gone to a big city until I was about 17 years old. Until I went to the university, and I hadn't watched a movie until about a year later. Right. So I was 18 years old when I first watched the movie, even though our town had a couple of small theaters, but I had never had enough money, which was only 5 cents, that I could go and watch a movie.
Right. So you were 18 when you arrived in the Okanagan?
No, I was about 21.
21. And what made you decide to stay here as opposed to continue on? So
it's an interesting story. I don't know if my business partner is not here. Hopefully, he's watching the stream. So I was my brother was taking me around and showing me all these lovely places, and one day he said, "Let's go to Buckerfields and buy some some fertilizer for the lawn." And so great, I come out. And right beside Buckerfield, there used to be a company, hardware company, just started by two very fine individuals, Dave Harris and Mike Schleppy, very progressive risk takers type of guy that had just started that company. So having had a little bit of or had done 3 years of programming back home, I decided to peek in there just to see what they were doing. So met this old lady and I said, "Who's the boss here?" And and she said, "Mike." And I said, "Can I talk to him?" And she said, "Yeah, what about?" And I said, "I have a great story to tell him." And at that time, I really couldn't, my communication skill wasn't very good in English. I never spoke in English. This was a new thing for me still. I can't speak very, very good in English. But I kind of somehow, told him that, I got a very good story for him. So she goes and gets Mike. Mike's, if you've seen Mike, Mike's about 6'8", big guy. And I'm a little guy, kind of looking up to him, and he says, "What do you want?" And and I said, "Oh, I'm just kind of interested in what you do. So when you want to sell something, you don't want to start with, I have something to sell, right? I didn't want to start with, I'm looking for something. I just said, oh, I'm interested in what you do. I'm just arrived from Fiji. I do this, I'm in the computer business, software business. I'm just kind of interested in learning what you do." And he said, "Okay, so what do you want?" So I said, "Oh, just want to show me what you do." So he gave me a little bit of update. He said, "Oh, we have this $1 million system that we bought, and we do timeshare. So people buy some time, and okay." And I said, "Okay," and he said, "And what if I wanted to work here?" He said, "What?" He said, "No, we're not interested. We're not hiring anybody." I said, "But what if I wanted to?" He said, No, we're not hiring anybody." He said, No. I said, "Well, I tell you something. I am the best programmer in the world, best programmer you'd ever find." And I said, "I'll make you a deal. You can hire me. I'll work for you for free. And I'll work for you for free for a month. I'm only here for a month. I'm kind of looking around to see, the place. And if you like what I'm doing, we can talk about maybe the next step. If you don't like what I'm doing, I've learned something. I probably will give you a little bit of work that you like, and that'd be it." And he kind of looked at me. He says, "Free?" And I said, "Yeah." I said, "Free." He said, "Well," "let's come in." I said, "Well, I can't start right now." I said, "I'm thinking like next week." He said, No, that's not how it works." He says, "Yeah, come." So he grabbed all of these books, manuals about this many. He says, "Yeah." He says, "We start at 8 tomorrow, but just so that you know, I'm an early morning person. I'm here at 7, so welcome to come in at 7. So that was sort of my starting point here. I, in 2 days, learned a little bit, showed them what I was doing, and he says, "Come into my office." I went in there. He says, "You're not working for free. I'm paying you." And I said, perfect.
And so that's how your career started at Vadim Software way back in the day, working for free and proving that you were worth your salt.
Yeah, I know. I was then in a little bit of conundrum. He said, I'll pay you, but he's never told me how much he's going to pay me or whatever. And I'm not the kind of person that wasn't even going to ask, right? I was just going to take whatever he gives, and it pays for all of the stuff, all of the money that I've already spent. I'm kind of thinking the other way, right? I'm thinking I've spent some money and I'm recouping whatever I can, kind of mitigating my loss here. So by end of the month, he comes to me. He says, "I've got a check for you, and what have you decided?" And I says, "Let me have a look at the check first." And it was $1,500 for like 2 weeks worth of work, and I'm thinking, oh my God! I looked at it again. I said, "This is all for me?" He said, "You billed double that much already." And I said, "But this is like, I can keep all of this?" He says, "Yeah." I said, "Well, decision's made. I'm working. I'm staying here." So that's when I decided to stay, and started to help the business. So I'm just gonna sort of replay back to my first job in that little grocery store that I worked. So I started washing the bottles, but bad job. Never get that job. Really bad. By the end of the day, smelling kerosene. And if somebody lit something, a lot of people smoke over there, you can actually catch fire. So not a good thing. So I started thinking pretty fast, and I started working with the boss, who was ultimately a great mentor to me for many years. In guiding him and helping him how we can grow. He was serving so many customers, but the systems were not really in place that he could even do more. So I started to put very simple things, like he would wait for people to come in, and somebody would say, "I want 5 pounds of sugar." Then the guy would go grab a bag, and he walk to the full bag of sugar, and then he'll fill it, and then he'll go to the weigh scale, and he'll weigh it, and it'll take him 10 minutes to do that. So what I did was I said, "Look, we can organize this. We know roughly based on your last week's sales what people buy. Let's get all of this prepped up." And that little idea kind of grew. We became the largest grocery store in that little town. Like, we went from a small store to like almost overweighty size. Became the number one. We closed down about 15 other stores. We became really big. So when I came to Vadim, I did the same thing. When Mike said, there's money and $1,500 for 2 weeks, I went home. I was just jumping up and down. Went to my mom and I said, "I'm going to buy you something right now," because my mom was here too at that time. I've never seen that much money, actually. I was really, my hands were shaking when I took the check to the bank. So at Vadim, basically, when I started working, I see they had, Mike had a contractor coming in to shred the paper. There's a lot of paper being printed in those days. And then he had some contractor coming in to clean, do the vacuuming and cleaning the bathrooms. I looked at him. I said, "Why are they free?" He said, "No, we pay them." I said, "No, I'm here at 7 o'clock. I can do that." He said, "No, you're not going to be cleaning toilets." I said, "Why? Is there a problem?" He said, "No, you're not going to do that." I said, "No, I'll do that." So we let go of all of those people. The cleaning guys went, the shredding guys went, people that were delivering coffee went. I was going in next door. 2 blocks down the road, we had a coffee place. I'd just go get coffee, right? So 3 years down the road, in early 80s, everybody will remember, we had a economic downturn. And by the time we had already hired a few more staff. So the decision was made to do a little bit of a work sharing program or let people go. So Mike comes to me and says, "We're going to make some announcement, but don't worry, because you're going to be the guy that I'm going to keep, because I'm letting." And then we did eventually get the cleaners back to do that, because he didn't think I should be doing it. He says, "I want you to clean the toilets because you're going to stay." So I was yeah, my job was safe. And then just working with him, looking at what we were doing, always kind of thinking outside the box, how we could, take that little, what we were doing in a day and how we can double that, triple that, quadruple that to grow the company. And when I sold out, we had close to 100 people working for us.
Yeah. So eventually you became a partner in the company.
Yeah, so Dave Harris and Mike were the two original partners. Dave was a brilliant guy, actually, in technology, for that era. He got hired by the Royal London Automobile Association, got handpicked to go run the technology department back to London. He was originally from UK. So that time, Mike said, 2 or 3 years into this business, and Mike said, what do you think? And I said, well, this is, if I'm given the opportunity, I'd love to, but I said, I'm being very honest, I have no money to buy the business. So if you want to give me the business, or if you want me to work and pay for a business, I'm very interested. And Mike did. He was a wonderful man. His idea was, 50% of a larger pie is still bigger than 100% of a small pie. So he gave me a great opportunity to be a equal partner in the business. And from there we just had a tremendous amount of fun growing this business.
Very fun. So talk to us a little bit about the near the end. So this has gone on. You were at Vadim for 30, almost 27.
Yeah, we were a very fast startup, 28 years.
But leading towards acquisition, maybe share a little bit about how you're feeling about giving up, or not giving up on entrepreneurship or the company, but that decision to sell the business and maybe do something different. And how did that feel as someone that was involved from the pretty early days?
Yes, so basically, Mike and I had a great relationship, a great partnership, but it came to a point just prior to Y2K. So mid-90s, we looked at what the products that we have and the customers that we had and how we needed to grow the business. And at that point, we decided that we will take it on ourselves rather than bringing in any private investors, private equity, or VC funds. There are a lot of people interested in the business, by the way. I had about 5 or 6 offers from different companies or VCs to come and join us or buy us out for an office from Toronto and stuff like that. We weren't interested at the time. We were small. We were growing at a good pace. And making very good money, so there was really no desire to exit at that point. But mid-90s, when the Y2K was happening, it forced a lot of our competition to put a lot of money in the software, in the products, to raise the bar, and we had a decision to make at that point of whether exiting at that point and not invest a lot of money, or take the other route, which we did, was invest about $4 million of our money. And for 2 guys, locally, really with really no background of a lot of money or funding, it was a big move. So we made that move to invest money in the company at that time, and refresh our products and grow the company. Then it came to year 2000, or close to 2001. Actually, just at 2000, the landscape was changing. What we saw was we needed to grow fast. We needed to go to different geographic regions. So we were very strong in BC, very, very strong in BC. We were very strong in Saskatchewan. We were very strong in Alberta. Starting to get some traction in Ontario. But we didn't have any clients in the USA, and our biggest growth would have been to go to the USA. And we did a lot of research. So basically, used some consulting people, nice consultants ourselves. Did some research to say what would it take for us to change our products again, enhance it one more time, and the marketing cost to grow our business. Especially we're eyeing Eastern Canada, Ontario, and the USA, and it looked like it was going to be another $4 or $5 million. And Mike and I looked at each other at this time and says, no, we've done this 6 times. So 6 times meaning over the 28 years we did 6 major revisions of our software or a major leap into a different market space. And we said, no, this is probably we're getting too old for this. I was only 40 years old, but it seemed like an eternity. I said, no, this is probably a good time to exit. So rather than kind of just going out and selling, we did a lot of things actually. I think the way we sold the company. David is not here, right? No. We did a lot of preparations. We knew we wanted to maximize the value. So rather than making a decision and selling within a year, we decided to take a couple of years, almost 2.5 years, to prep the company. We were a very low-profile company. We'd been in Kelowna for 28 years, but if you had asked 99.9% of the people in Kelowna wouldn't know that we existed because we just tried to keep it very low profile. But when we decided to when we looked at each other and we were pretty clear in our minds and heads that we wanted to exit, we put a plan that says we're going to raise the profile of the company. We're going to try and, even if we have to give a little bit, we're going to try and attract some very important or strategic customers. Like we would shy away from, say, City of Vancouver going to a business at that time because we thought we were too small. But just because we wanted to exit and those kind of strategic customers would actually add a lot of value, even though we would not make any money on them when we go implement. We did a lot of those kind of moves. We, rather than just say there's a market out there, we would actually went and got a couple of customers in the US. We got some customers in the Ontario market space and Atlantic provinces to at least give, again, they were all money losers for us. But we did that intentionally. We not money losers in totally. We didn't make like in a municipal sale. There's a lot of margins, a lot. Yeah. So we very strategically we made deals where it gave us some very strategic customers that we could show to a potential buyer that people would buy our products and services and have confidence in us. And then it was very hard, by the way, at the end, but that's the whole preparation until the time when we had somebody come and seriously look.
So Sarita said it was okay at the end of the day. That was the...
Joking aside, we had 2 very good sounding boards. Mike and I were very blessed. Jackie not here, but that was our test board actually. Mm-hmm. We made a lot of good moves in those 28 years. We made some pretty bad moves, but every time we had run it by our sounding board, we did all right. And when we didn't, when we went with a different feeling, sometimes it didn't work out. A good example was we were hiring a pretty strategic person for our Ontario business, almost a C-level executive that we interviewed, Mike and I. He did his sales talk. He was a salesman by trade, and we bought everything hook, line, and sinker. But we always had this other thing. We would take them and say, you guys come home, or we'd take them somewhere and we'd have our wives there, just very strategically placed. And they would, talk to them, interview them, and after meeting them, they would say thumbs up or thumbs down. On this one, particular one, they both said, don't go near this guy. And Mike and I looked at him and said, you're crazy. And it was a huge amount of hassles for us. We had to go to court, and money was laundered. A lot of bad things. So we had some good advice.
Cool. So some pretty good success with Vadim, obviously. A nice exit. You decide to stay in the Okanagan. And you've started several companies since then. How many companies have you actually got off the ground since 2003, I guess, or 4?
Maybe about 5 or 6. Few ongoing right now. Was one with a friend services in India. There was one with a couple of friends in wine logistics. I mean, it didn't go well, but one of the best times that we've ever had. Sorry? Why? Because we used to come home with sometimes a bottle, sometimes a case, sometimes wine every day.
I don't think we got any customers either, did we?
No, but I mean, we did all the right things.
Yeah,
I mean, Steve Blank says go outside the building and talk to them, and our routine was every day for 6 months. We'd meet in Summerland, have coffee and muffin every day, without fail, and then we'd go and visit a number of wineries and drink wine all day, and then come home with. You never know what it was. It could be a bottle, a few bottles, a case, or whatever it was. But it was a great time, and then
it was pretty fun. We actually had a truck and a forklift.
And we had a first time ever. I drove a 1-ton truck and a forklift. All good.
So that answers my next question, which was the most fun, because I kind of knew what that one was. So you won Entrepreneur of the Year award in 1999. You grew a successful tech business. You've started several other companies, and now you've become an executive in residence. You're mentoring, but you're also an angel investor. So maybe talk a little bit about your experience as an angel investor and when that started for you, and maybe some experiences you can share with the group.
Yeah, that's a funny story too. So angel investing, I started about 7-8 years ago. So that would be 2006. I think I got involved. So one of my good friends, Ed Elfke, one day says, "Want to have some good wine?" And Braden knows when it's good wine, I'm there. So I go to this function, and I see a whole bunch of people having some great wine. I'm thinking, this is pretty good. And then there were a few companies pitching for money, and I thought it was pretty interesting stuff. I hadn't been involved in the angel movement up until that time at all. But one thing that Ed had not told me was they didn't have anybody to run that organization. And that was sort of his way of introducing me as the leader of the Okanagan Angel Network. I'm thinking, I didn't know all of this, so I had a good time. 3 companies presented, and then he comes to me at the end of the night and he gives me all these papers. He said, yeah, and this, you're going to give them the feedback, and you're going to do this, you're going to do this. I'm saying, excuse me? He says, yeah. He said, apparently whoever the past president was has resigned, he's moved on, and I guess you have some time. And I said, yeah, I guess I have some time. I'm a sucker for punishment. I take on all of these things. So what the hell? This shouldn't take much time. So I took on angel investing. So that's how I kind of got involved in it. We had a good organization. Venture Okanagan. Drew is the president of that. Came out of the Angel Network, so now we're having students at Okanagan College go through the same process, so they can learn about investing and mentoring companies and all of that kind of stuff. I forget where I was going, but that's
okay.
Yeah.
I know that you were one of the early investors in Vineyard Networks, so you're buying dinner, by the way.
Yeah.
What are some of the key things that you look for in potential companies that are pitching to you?
It's 2 or 3 things, very simple things. What I look at is basically the owner itself, whoever is driving the company, how vested they are. Do they have any domain knowledge? How charismatic they are? Are they able to, to drive this thing forward? Can they go out and talk and sell? That's very important. So, when I'm analyzing a deal, it's usually 40% of the mark or credit or whatever. I put on the the founder itself. So, if the founder is vested totally, so if they've mortgaged their house, they've got a credit limit to the limit, all the credit cards are limited out, and the house is almost ready to be taken by bank, that's a good thing. When they haven't put any money in, it's not a good thing. So, if somebody comes to me and says, I'm looking for a couple $100,000, and when I say, how much have you invested? So, well, no, I'm not going to invest in this. Wow, and you want me to? So I'm kind of looking for, one of the big criteria is the founder itself and how vested they are, and do they have the domain knowledge in whatever area they're trying to do. That's number one. Number two is usually, do they have a good, market and marketing strategy? So what I hear most of the time is, this is a $400 million market. We only need to get 10% and we'll have $40 million business. And they have no clue how they're going to get the 10%. So if you have some idea of how you can actually get your first 10 customers, I think that helps tremendously as well.
Mm-hmm. And so, in your experience, you've worked with several companies and early stage, both startups and early stage companies as a mentor, as a certified business coach as well, an executive in residence. So you've seen a lot of companies through AO and outside of AO in the past few years. And what do you think some of the greatest challenges are that face these companies?
I think one of the big the challenges, not in raising money, but just the companies in general with the idea, or
mm-hmm. Yeah, just in general.
Yeah, well, I think just trying to identify the market and how they're going to actually get to that market is usually the biggest thing. So everybody has this brilliant idea, but again, the challenge that I see is they haven't really thought out or done enough research or gone out of the building and validated whatever they think they're going to build. People actually need. One of the things they should be able to do is, I think, and I sell a lot of soft vaporware, they used to call them at that time. And I used to sell products that was coming out 2 years down the road. But one of the things that you should be able to do is at least sell your idea to somebody that says, oh yeah, I like this and I'll pay X dollars for this. And that's the biggest challenge that I find people are not doing. Everybody gets so engrossed in the idea itself and creating a business, but they haven't gone out and done that little bit of research to say, yeah, I've got these 5 people. If I had this product today, these 5 people will buy it and they will pay this amount of dollars. That makes business sense.
Right. Yeah, that's great advice. So looking back on your career and your beginnings in Fiji and travels to North America and working for free and the success that you've had business-wise and investing-wise in companies, what are you most proud of looking back at that history? Well,
I think the first and foremost, I'm very blessed, and I'm very blessed from the point I've got a very, although grew up in a huge, 8 siblings, and I forget how many cousins that were so close. We were kind of living together, so there were probably 8 times 8, so there'd be 64 first cousins that were all within either the same roof or close by. So. And 8 uncles and aunts and grandparents. Very blessed, first of all, to have been part of that, and then these 3 folks over here that have been extremely supportive. So I feel really good that there were a lot of ups and downs. I spent a lot of time on the road when I was growing the business. One thing that Mike and I did was we wanted to take it upon ourselves to go prove that we can do this, and that required us to be on the road lots. Mm-hmm. And we had a very good supportive family that allowed, from both sides, from Mike's side as well, to be able to do that. And the things that I'm very proud of is we're able to take that little company that used to sell timeshare to a few people, to grow it to a point we became the preferred supplier of software and services to local governments across Canada. I thought that was a great achievement for a small company in Kelowna. Mm-hmm. Created I don't know how many jobs, hundreds of jobs for the local economy. And then the second part is, when I did have some success, made some money, not much, enough that I'm comfortable with, that that gave me the time to go give back, go pay it forward, helping a lot of people. Last 5 years, just outside of AO, I've talked to over 260 companies that have come to me for some sort of help, whether it was just mentoring, guidance, looking for money, connections, whatever. So I mean, there's a lot of companies that people that have helped, and then I've also invested in some local companies. Vineyard Networks, as you mentioned, I was one of the very early investors in that company. Sometimes what happens is, there's a good company, great idea, and people are lined up to write the check, but they're kind of waiting for somebody else to do it, and that was one of the cases. So, I said, I'm working with you guys. I'll write the check to show the commitment, to show the confidence that these guys have a great idea, and then they grow the business and sell and make such a big story. So those are the things that I'm really proud of. And the ability to have given back, the ability, that created all of these jobs and created some tremendous friends. Met people like you, everybody over here. I mean, this is it can't get any better than this.
Well, I should end it there, but I have a couple more questions. That's a good place to end it. You raised a really good point about, I think this is good advice for companies that are in the growth stage or even in the startup stage, but you and Mike making that decision to get on the road yourself and grow this business, and how impactful that is to have that frontline information from the customer directly into the people that can make a difference. And you can't just rely on your sales staff or business development staff or client support staff to get the message as clear as you can when you get out there and meet customers yourself. And I think that, for a lot of companies that we deal with, that reluctance to actually get out and talk to people face to face is sometimes a barrier to that growth.
I think it's very important. Something that we had. Again, I mean, we had a great team. Mike is an accountant by trade, and I'm the computer, and software engineer, whatever. So, I mean, we had a great, a combination of two people, and we liked each other, and we liked to travel, and we had, and I could tell stories for 10 days about all our travel and fun things that we did, mishaps. The plane just left with all my luggage on the plane, and I had those kind of things. So it was all fun. So, and we had deliberately made the decision that we would go out and we would be the face of the company in the growing stage. They came to a point where we couldn't do that. Mm-hmm. But up to that point, we wanted to do it. The other thing that I will like to add is one thing that I did very, very early in our company's life was to create a culture, and something that I actually learned from my great mentors working back in Fiji. One thing that there's a lot of things that he told me, and one thing that resonated with me, he says, with your business, you need to be identified. People, your customers, your prospective customers, and your competition need to know you by something. Like there must be something that they like you for, and it can be 5 things. It has to be just one thing. And so when we were growing Vadim, one thing that we brought, or the culture that we created within the company, was of customer support. After all, doing a lot of thinking, there was a lot of debate going on to say, we want to be known as the best technology company. That was pretty high. And then the other part was, we want to be known as the company that provides the best customer support. End of the day, the customer support thing won out. And we created that culture. Every time we hired any employee or consultant, we made sure that they understood what the company's culture was. After 5 years, our competition knew. It was a good feeling when I would go out and the competition would say that you guys provide the best customer service. So, I'm talking when we go and present to a prospective customer, we talk about customer service and references. Oh, we don't want to talk about that. We know that. That's a given. and they would actually look at our company from the technology point of view. So I think you need to, especially most of you people are in startup mode and early startup, and you need to create that culture. You need to find something. It could be technology. It doesn't have to be customer service, but you need to have your company identified by something. Your customers need to appreciate that, and your competition needs to fear that. So that's what you need to create.
Awesome. So maybe talk about, I mean, you still have a large family base in Fiji. You have a residence there. You have a lot of friends there. You have a business there, or maybe you still have a business there?
Yes, we
It's a couple. But maybe talk a little bit about what you've given back to that community over the years, and in what form has that happened?
Yeah, so yeah, we do have a beautiful place there. If somebody's going to Fiji, you definitely wanna look us up, because we have a very nice place right on the ocean. So we're very proud of that. I have a lot of relatives there. Like I say, we come from a huge family. So yeah, we go back quite often, and we give back. These two kids go to Fiji. They go and things. I mean, this is just simple things. They would go do their own grocery shopping. They would go cook, and then they would go to a orphanage and feed the kids. I mean, those are the kinds of things we do. We take stuff. We try and find things. We have friends that Ron's friends that give us used clothing. That they just love over there, because they can't. People in Fiji, there's kids, or a lot of families still. They just don't have the spare change to have the ability to buy too many clothes and stuff like that. So we go out and look for things, shoes, soccer boots, soccer balls. And take it down there. We spend a lot of money. I created some businesses over there to help the local economy there as well. I'm pretty well embedded in the business community there. Trying to help out in many ways. Invested in some companies. Invested a lot of money down there as well. So yeah, and still continue to.
So I had the pleasure of my family and I had the pleasure of visiting Raghwa, Swida, Amy, and Ron in Fiji. We had a great time. Raghwa invited me down another trip. He had started a business down there and wanted some help on the marketing promotion side. So he spent a little bit of time in Fiji and had a good time. And before I went, he said, "Do you mind stopping by my house and picking up a suitcase?" So I said, "Well, sure. How many clothes do you need? It's Fiji. It's like 40 degrees. Aren't we like shorts and t-shirts?" But I get to the house and there's suitcases full of soccer balls and cleats and everything for the orphanages in Fiji. So I actually got to spend some time driving around, not only building a business with Raghwa in Fiji, but visiting the orphanages and feeling part of that giving back community. It was quite an amazing experience. So yeah, very, very cool. Okay, that's it for the interview part. Questions from you guys? Feel free to ask away. Anybody out there? Anything I missed? Richard.
Right, well, back in the 1980s, lots of people that were taking advantage of various incentive programs. Big companies like Adam, the Unplugged company. Did you and your co-founders ever think about that idea?
So a couple of things I'll say. First of all, there were shred programs, and there was a lot of government-funded programs that we never took advantage of until about late 90s. So for the first 20 years, we made sure that we would not take any government funding, because Mike was pretty adamant that as soon as you take some government funding, you need to start doing what they want. So we stayed away from all of that, first of all. And secondly, the business that we were in, it was, there was never, like, customers, there was never a bad debt. So never in the 28-year history that I ran the business that I had to write off a buck, because the customers, the local governments always paid whatever the deal was, and they always paid on time. And the margins, because we were the leaders, and we were able to, to price the products and services at a rate where we're actually, making pretty decent money. So we never actually kind of thought about going public or anything like that. No, we did get, like I said, we got approached, probably before we sold out to Stardine. I had probably had at least 10 conversations with different people that wanted to either buy into the company or invest in the company. But we didn't want to. There was no need to. Our method of getting extra money was selling to the customers as opposed to outside of that.
Yeah, just expand on that a little bit. When I worked with Vadim for the few years in mid 2000, the objective was already it was less expensive to upsell your existing customers than it was to go find new customers. So we were always selling new products and services to existing customers, actually built into the business model, and held pretty accountable to do that, by the way. But it was a great strategy, and one that paid off. And the existing customers, it was always amazing how much more money there was there if your customer service was number one, which it was, and they were really willing to talk. And more than that, every time there was a new rollout, everybody had their hand up to be the beta test site. Yeah. So there was never any problem getting someone to test the software to validate that it worked, to solve the problem. And then you had 10 customers that were willing to vouch for this new product, and the other 300 just rolled right in line and put up the extra 5 or 10K to get on board. So it was a pretty brilliant strategy and a great model.
Yeah, I think the strategy was very, very good. Like to acquire a customer, just so that you know, I mean, it's a great market to be in. But to acquire the customer, it's a 1-year process. And Mike and I would have to be on the road at the site probably 4 times, to talking to people, doing a demo and all of that. So it's pretty expensive to get the customer. If you go through all of that process and you lose out, you're losing a lot of money, a lot of time, money, and energy. So once you get the customer, I mean, our strategy was to keep them happy so they never leave you. But like Jeff says, is just keep finding more solutions and ideas and for them, so they keep giving you more money. It's much easier to do that than go find new customers. I mean, you still need to grow, but you want to mine your customers as much as you can. Yeah. Again, being a customer service company and known for the customer service, we really took care of our customers. There were many instances where we really didn't need to get involved. One of the things was, one big thing that I remember back probably late 90s, digital equipment came out with the 64-bit architecture, the alpha technology. And Microsoft decided to run Windows, adapt Windows NT to run on that 64-bit chip. It was the fastest thing out there. Like, it was just blazing fast, and we had about 80 of our customers purchase these servers from digital equipment. And then Microsoft, after 6 months, decided not to pursue or continue with supporting NT, Windows NT on that particular architecture. We as a software supplier could have said, okay, whatever, go find, do whatever you need to do with the hardware supplier. But we took upon ourselves to go back with the hardware supplier to make sure all our customers got replacement machines, so they get something that actually will last them into the future. I mean, spend a lot of time and energy, but every customer ended up on the positive side of that. So those are the kinds of things you do. You keep the customers happy, you keep engaged, you go to bet for them whenever the right time is, and you create that loyalty that Summerland has been a customer since 1978, since I ever know them, and they're still a very loyal customer. They'd never change, no matter what the competition comes out to.
Yeah, just to expand on that upselling piece again, I think in the early days, Vadim had 4 basic applications: general ledger, accounts payable, accounts receivable, maybe payroll. Not even payroll. When I joined, they had 30 applications that they were selling into that market. So 26 upselling opportunities over a very short period of time created a lot of revenue for the business. So
and every employee was trained to be a salesperson. So We had people that the receptionist was trained to be sales. So when they're talking to the customer and the customer says something, she says, "Oh, do you need something like this?" So they would actually listen, and our support people would be supporting a issue. So there's a problem with the program, and they're chatting with the customer, and customer will mention, "Oh, we if we only had this booking system or something like that," and we'd get that all messages coming to us. Sit down and we'll build a product that everybody then eventually likes and pays. Yeah. So the whole organization needs to be sales oriented. Whether you're a receptionist, you're cleaning the toilet or whatever, you still need to be listening to your customer and creating solutions for them. That way they don't go out to anybody else. You want to make sure that you give them all the solutions that they ever need.
Questions? Yeah.
Formal board of directors were just the four of us, wives and us. Yeah, we had an advisory board, so we didn't even have a formal advisory board, but we had some strategic people that was acting as our advisory board. So we would. We had some very strategic people that we would run things by, but we weren't getting them in, quarterly or semi-annual or annual meetings, which was just, it was more like a mentorship. So, we created a relationship, and every time we were doing something really major, we would, run it by them and just kind of listen. And sometimes, a lot of times they guided us in the right direction, saying, no, I don't think that will work. We'll go redo it. On the acquisition time, I hired a local advisor to help me with the acquisition process. So I relied more on him. His name is Don Spence. We're lucky to have him here because he could be in New York with the caliber of work that he is doing. He could be anywhere. He's world class. Just because he wanted to live in Kelowna, we're lucky to have him here. So I had hired him to help me craft out the process a little bit. So him and I worked, prior to going out and looking for opportunities. And then when the opportunity came, I actually hired him, and I shouldn't actually disclose it here, but I paid him very, very well for what he did. Very, very well.
Oh, I can't read it. Can you? How did you attract and retain early talent?
Very interesting. We had a pretty...
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah, very interesting. We had a pretty a different model of attracting employees. So right from the get-go, not attracting, but retaining employees. So right from the very get-go, we had a profit sharing plan. So it wasn't an official plan, so it wasn't a ESOP or of anything of that sort. Mike and I decided that 25% of the profits every year will go back to the employees. The other 75% would go back into the company. So really, for the first number of years, Mike and I were the lowest paid employees in the organization. Probably we were always the lowest paid employee, and we put all the business, all our 75% of the profit in growing the business. But the 25% of profit went to the employees, and it was basically based on the performance. So every Christmas, we would look at the performance. We would do a annual what you call that thing that you do
annual reviews,
annual review thing with the employees, and hand them a check based on how they perform. So it'd be sort of the overall company goal, which would be 25% of the profits, and then would just divvy it out based on employees. And employees love that. There were times going back, early 80s when our employees were getting $15,000 bonus in Christmas time from the profit sharing. So it worked really, really well. That was one of the ways we were retaining. Once people came in, and worked for us for a year, and we're getting used to that profit sharing plan. No, they knew they couldn't find that any other place. Plus, we made the other thing that really worked for us is we made the place a very fun place to work with. So when I was in the office, I was just like another guy working with them on the same team, doing the same kind of thing. So and we had a lot of fun activities, and again, our wives were not actively working in the company, but they were our sort of a social thing. They were creating social programs, fun events all year round. I mean, people were. Our staff were actually, if we didn't have a function for 3 months, they would say like, "What's going on?" Something like they were looking forward to those kind of stuff. So it was a very fun place to work. We weren't probably the company that paid the most, but we found, and we did a survey with our employees, and I think Jeff, you were there one year when we did a survey, and he said, what motivates you to work here? And money wasn't even in the top 5.
Mm-hmm.
So we did, maybe we weren't paying them the highest salary, but I mean, we created a culture, we created a place that was fun to work with, a lot of empowerment. So every employee, they felt free to do something and make a mistake and not be, chastised or fired. I mean, I know that was a good learning experience, as long as you didn't make the same mistake 3 times.
Yeah. Yeah. What's your position in joint ventures for early startups?
It depends. I think it depends. I mean, if there's a lot of synergies, it probably is a good thing. But it needs to be very well thought out. Both sides need to have to have it very well thought out, and you need to have that mindset of working as a joint venture. If you still have that mindset as working as a company, then I think you don't want to go in there. So you have to have that open mindset that says, okay, this is joint venture. This is the bigger picture is the team now. I think it will work. But you need to mentally prepare and come to terms with it before you go down that road. I'm telling you, because even though we had prepared for 2.5 years to sell our company, and the offer that we had on the table was very happy. It's very rare that you get what paid for what you really were looking for. And even at that time, Mike and I looked at it when we were going to sign the last paper and said, "Are we sure we're going to do this?" And we had a lot of preparation. And throughout that, we had a long due diligence process, which is really bad. You want to make sure that due diligence process, once somebody starts looking at acquiring, you make it as short as possible, but a lot of things can go wrong. And there was one point where we, I think even though we were very prepared, we said a few things that actually was going to derail the whole process. And thank God for our advisor, he kind of put it back together. But it's all the mindset, it's the preparation. You need to be prepared to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think on the joint venture side, the rules of engagement of the 2 parties are more super critical, right? Roles, responsibilities, things like that. Got to be really clear. Andrew?
You told me a story once about funding some of your first customers. How did you get funding to develop the software?
The absolute best way to fund is just go out and get sales. I mean, that's the simplest and best, non-dilutive. You're in control. Company is growing. Value of the company is growing. All good things happen when you go and get customers to get funding. Then there's many other ways as well. But the apps.
You didn't even have software.
Sorry.
You didn't even have software.
No, but you still can go and sell. You can sell an idea. I had money in the bank and I didn't even have the software. Does that answer that? No, really, seriously. I mean, if you have a great idea, you should be able to convince people, at least 5 people, to pay for it, even up front.
Yeah, that was part of the process with the feature enhancements and new apps at Vadim, is we always got the customers to pay for it before we built it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Pretty good. Any other ones? Colleen?
I know it may be lucky. So one part of our business partnership, we try to actually bring one more partner, so it'd be three people involved in the company. So I think it's a little bit of a luck, but it didn't work out with the other gentleman. So I think a partnership is just like marriage. It's no different than, a lot of people still tease us, they say that Mike and I are married, but really we're not. I mean, we're not that type. But it's just like a marriage. I mean, I have enough trust, same kind of trust in Mike that I have in my family. So I think you need to have that trust, and maybe a luck plays in a bit to find the right kind of person. But you need to court each other for a little bit. I think before you get into any sort of partnerships, you need to know who they are. Well, first of all, again, I think going back, I mean, if you want the control and if you're the type, then you need to go and mentally unwind yourself to say, I'm open to partnership, right? That's the first thing. And I think if you don't do that, it's probably not going to work. So I think you need to be fairly open to having that, idea that you're going to be in a partnership. It's going to be, some good days, some bad days, and it's a partnership, and that's how it's supposed to be. So you need to, have that mindset, and then court for a while. You need to, do things together to see if it's the right partner for you or not. So I think you need to do a little of that, and then. And with Mike and myself, it was pretty easy. I was working for him. He hired me. I wanted to work for free. He paid me. So there was a lot of trust that got built. And so when he offered for me to become a partner, it was a pretty easy thing. Over 30 years of partnership, I mean, Mike tells you there was one day and there was only one conversation that we had that was uncomfortable. And we haven't done any business. Well, we have some businesses together, but actively we're not in any business for the last 12 years. But we still have lunch together regularly. So that's the partnership. And he controls all my money, so I have to be nice to him.
Yeah. Anything you would have done differently, looking back?
Yeah, I mean, probably would have, if I was smarter and had a little bit more financial backing, I probably would have grown the company a little faster. And I think that would be one thing that I would have done a little differently. I think that probably is the only thing that comes to mind, that if I had the means, I would have probably been way bigger. If I wanted to be in business for 28 years, probably would have a much larger chunk of the U.S. market, and been a 500-person company doing $50 million in sales. We didn't have the means, so we kind of grew based on whatever we could put back in. So that would be one thing that I would have done differently. Having this experience today, I would probably have maneuvered somehow to grow faster. But at that time, I didn't know much, and it was easier to kind of grow within the means that you have. You think that's the safest route, right? So that's what you do.
So given that comment, would you have borrowed money, some money, in order to finance that growth?
I think, with I would have, if I had a little bit more wisdom, I probably would have had, probably the guts to go borrow money and grow. At that time, it just, it just didn't seem like something that I could do. Can you repeat that a little bit?
Yeah. So based on your model of selling before you build it, would you have the customer invest in that process as well as going out and selling? Any customers ever invest in product development?
Customers never invested in that terms, but the customers were investing because they were actually writing checks for us to build a product. So I think they were investing, but in the customer's eyes, they were actually buying a product. They're buying a product that they were going to get delivered 6 months down the road. But in my terms, I mean, the way I looked at it, I mean, they're kind of co-investing in building the product. The 30 applications I think we ended up having, just so that you know, all of those products were co-funded by customers. Mm-hmm. We did not go out ever and build an application and just say, okay, well, let's build this application and then we'll go sell it. Every time we had an idea to build a new application or a new feature, we'd go to a customer and say, would you like this? And they say, yeah, oh, this is really good. And say, well, this is what it's going to cost and we'll build it for you. So they paid for the bill. We own the IP. And then we sold it to all the other customers. So that's the model we tried. And it seemed to work. But so we didn't ask customers to invest in the company, but we asked the customers to pre-buy the product.
That also worked with not major applications, but custom reports would be a really great example, where one municipality wanted their property tax bill to look a certain way. They would pay for that enhancement, and then we'd sell it to all the other customers for the same price 300 times.
Yeah. It's the confidence in what you're trying to sell. I mean, if you're really sold on what you're trying to sell, I think it becomes pretty easy. So, makes sense? I mean, if you have the full if you know the product and you know that you're helping a customer and you have the value proposition that helps the customer and you can articulate it and you can show it, I think it's pretty easy. It's when you're not totally sold on it yourself, I think they might have a problem.
So with the advent of technology, are there kids growing up in Fiji now that have opportunities that they didn't have before? Like you have?
It's still, I mean, Fiji is still a third world country. Unfortunately, still, and there's been some political issues that's taken the country back a number of years. So, yes, there's more opportunities. We have 2 McDonald's, so there's 10 more opportunities for students to work.
Don't eat there, though.
Sorry?
Don't eat there,
but don't eat there. We have 2 McDonald's, but don't eat there. And Jeff will tell you that.
Do not eat there.
No, really, it's I would.
We did.
Jeff will tell you the story.
It's a little embarrassing, so I won't get into the details. Don't eat at McDonald's in Fiji.
Yeah, we ate in McDonald's and then we're doing some tour, and Jeff said that we need to go back home fast. Okay.
Yeah.
That was a bad one.
In terms of the Fiji doctors, I had the bugs.
All right.
Yeah.
No, it's opportunities have gotten a little bit better, but not that much more. But there are a lot of people that have gone away, done well, and are going back to help out. So I'm kind of very happy about that.
Eat the Indian food in Fiji; it's phenomenal. And buy spices when you're there. Bring home. Anybody? Okay. Thank you, the Raghwa.